The distress signal reached Earth on a Tuesday morning, cutting through every frequency the galactic communications array could monitor. Dr. Sarah Chun was drinking her third cup of coffee when the emergency protocols activated, bathing the monitoring station in red light and filling the air with urgent beeping. "What the hell?" Sarah muttered, rushing to her console. The signal was unlike anything in their databases. Not the structured mathematical patterns they expected from alien civilizations, but something raw and desperate. The universal translator struggled with the transmission, parsing fragments of meaning from what sounded like dozens of different languages. "Help, dying, children, please, anyone." The words sent chills down Sarah's spine. She'd been monitoring space for alien contact for 15 years, hoping for first contact. This wasn't the peaceful greeting she'd imagined. "Director Martinez," she called out. "You need to see this." Director Martinez hurried over, his face growing pale as he listened to the transmission. The universal translator continued its work, revealing more of the message's horrifying content. "This is the merchant vessel Golden Current. Unknown attackers destroyed our escort. They're boarding us, taking our young. If anyone receives this, we have children aboard." The signal cut to static, then resumed with different voices. More ships, Sarah realized. An entire convoy under attack. "Sarah, patch this through to command immediately," Martinez ordered. "And get me everything we know about that sector of space." Within minutes, the signal had reached the highest levels of Earth's military command. General Harrison listened to the transmission 3 times before speaking. "Ma'am," his aide said carefully, "the signal originates from the Kepler 442 system. That's deep in what our surveys indicate is Zephyrian Coalition space." Harrison nodded grimly. The Zephyrians were one of 3 major alien factions they'd identified through long-range observation. Unlike the militaristic hegemony or the mysterious collective, the coalition seemed to be a peaceful trading confederation. If someone was attacking their merchant vessels and kidnapping their children, what's our nearest asset to that system? Harrison asked. "The stealth reconnaissance ship Phantom, sir. Captain Rodriguez's crew has been conducting deep space intelligence gathering. They're actually quite close to Kepler 442. Get me Rodriguez." Now, Captain Maria Rodriguez had been expecting the call. Her crew aboard the Phantom had picked up the same distress signals, and her communications officer had already provided her with a full translation. The picture it painted was disturbing. "Captain," came General Harrison's voice over the quantum. "Communicator, I need to know what we're dealing with out there." "Sir, we've been monitoring the situation for the past 6 hours," Rodriguez replied. "The attackers appear to be using ships we can't identify in our databases. They're not coalition, hegemony, or collective vessels. The technology seems different, more aggressive." Through the Phantom's advanced sensors, Rodriguez and her crew had watched the systematic destruction of a peaceful trading convoy. The attackers moved with military precision, but their tactics were unlike anything in Earth's military doctrine. They disabled rather than destroyed, boarded rather than eliminated, and seemed particularly focused on capturing specific individuals. "Sir," Rodriguez continued, "the coalition ships have no significant weapons. They're merchant vessels, family ships. The attackers are taking prisoners, especially the young ones. And sir, they're still out there. 3 coalition ships are still transmitting distress signals." The line went quiet for a long moment. Rodriguez knew what the general was thinking. Earth had maintained a policy of non-interference in alien affairs, observing from the shadows while building their own capabilities, but this was different. These weren't political conflicts or territorial disputes. This was something that struck at the core of human values. "Captain Rodriguez," General Harrison said finally, "how long would it take you to reach the convoy?" "At maximum burn, 18 hours, sir. But, sir, the Phantom is a reconnaissance vessel. We're not equipped for combat operations." "I'm not asking you to engage, Captain. I need eyes on the situation. And I need to know if those merchant vessels can hold out long enough for help to arrive." Rodriguez understood. The general was considering something that would change everything. Earth's first official contact with An alien civilization wouldn't be the peaceful meeting they'd planned. It would be a rescue mission aboard the damaged Coalition vessel Bright Hope. Captain Vex pressed his four-armed body against the emergency barricade they'd erected in the ship's central corridor. The attackers had breached the outer hull an hour ago and were systematically working their way through the ship. Behind him, his crew and passengers huddled in the ship's emergency shelter, including 16 young Zephyrians on their first trading voyage. The universal translator around his neck crackled with the same distress signal they'd been broadcasting for hours. No one was coming. The nearest Coalition security forces were days away, and the hegemony wouldn't cross into Coalition space for anything short of a full invasion. The collective never responded to anything. "Captain," his first officer Kale whispered, "the boarding pods have reached Deck 7. They'll be here soon." Vex looked at his crew, at the frightened faces of the passengers they'd sworn to protect. The attackers had already captured 2 other ships from their convoy. They knew what fate awaited them. "Keep broadcasting," Vex said quietly. "Someone has to hear us." The message continued its journey across space, carried by quantum relays and subspace transmitters. It reached monitoring stations belonging to the Coalition, the hegemony, and the collective. In each case, the response was the same. Too far away? Too dangerous? Not their responsibility? But on Earth? Something different was happening. Admiral Sarah Kenzie stood before the assembled Joint Chiefs, the alien distress signal playing for the 5th time. The room was silent except for the desperate voices calling for help across the void. "The Phantom has confirmed the situation," Admiral Kenzie said. "Multiple ships under attack, civilians and children being taken captive. The attackers are using technology we've never seen before, and they're not part of any known faction." "Admiral," said General Parks, "if we respond to this, we're announcing our presence to the galaxy. Everything changes." "It changes anyway," Admiral Kenzie replied. "The question is how we want to be known. As the species that watched while children were kidnapped, or as the species that answered when someone called for help." The debate that followed was brief but intense. Earth had been preparing for eventual contact for decades, building ships and weapons designed with the assumption that not all alien species would be friendly. They had the capability to help. The question was whether they had the will. "Ma'am," interrupted an aide, "we're receiving updated intelligence from Captain Rodriguez. The tactical display updated with new information. 3 Coalition ships still active, broadcasting distress signals. Unknown attackers using boarding tactics rather than destruction, suggesting they wanted prisoners alive. And something else. Ma'am, the Phantom's deep scans indicate the attacking vessels have significant technological advantages over the Coalition ships, but—" The aide paused. "Their weapon systems appear to be energy-based, similar to what we've seen from other alien factions. Their defenses appear to be standard deflector arrays." Admiral Kenzie understood immediately. The attackers were technologically superior to the peaceful Coalition merchants, but they weren't necessarily superior to Earth's military. Humanity had spent decades preparing for hostile contact, developing weapons and tactics based on observed alien capabilities. "How long to get the 7th Fleet to the Kepler 442 system?" she asked. "Admiral," said Fleet Admiral Morrison, "the 7th is our most advanced rapid response fleet. All stealth-capable ships equipped with the latest weapons systems. At maximum burn and using the new quantum drives, they could reach the system in 36 hours. But Admiral," General Parks interjected, "that's still too long for the survivors on those ships." Kenzie nodded. "What about the Aurora?" The room fell silent. The Aurora was Earth's newest and most advanced warship, built incorporating every lesson learned from decades of observing alien technology. It was fast, heavily armed, and most importantly, it was currently on patrol near the edge of human space. "The Aurora could reach the system in 14 hours, Fleet Admiral Morrison said slowly. "But Admiral, that's one ship against an unknown force." "One ship crewed by humans," Admiral Kenzie corrected. "And humanity has some advantages these attackers might not expect." The decision was made quickly after that. Captain Sarah Okafor of the Aurora received her orders within the hour. Proceed to Kepler 442, assess the situation, and if possible, render assistance to the coalition vessels under attack. But Okafor received additional orders, ones that didn't appear in the official records. Earth's first contact with alien civilizations was about to be very different from what anyone expected aboard the Aurora. Captain Okafor addressed her crew of 200 elite officers and enlisted personnel. They were the best Earth had to offer, trained for exactly this type of scenario. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, "we're about to make history. We're also about to show the galaxy what humanity is capable of. Those ships out to..." The Aurora dropped out of quantum drive at the edge of the Kepler 442 system with the silence that only came from perfectly functioning technology. Captain Sarah Okafor watched the tactical display populate with contacts as her ship's sensors reached across space to paint a picture of the ongoing disaster. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Commander Chun from the sensor station, "I'm reading 5 ships in the inner system. 3 are broadcasting coalition identification codes and distress signals. 2 appear to be the attackers currently docked with one of the coalition vessels. Life signs?" Okafor asked, though she dreaded the answer. "Multiple species aboard all vessels, Captain. The attackers' ships show significant life sign concentrations, suggesting they've been taking prisoners from multiple vessels." Chun's voice was carefully controlled. "Ma'am, energy signatures suggest the 2 attacking ships have weapon systems far superior to the coalition vessels. But double quote, but?" Okafor prompted. "Ma'am, compared to our weapon systems, they appear to be using outdated energy projection technology, similar to what we observed from hegemony ships during our reconnaissance missions." Captain Okafor allowed herself a cold smile. Earth hadn't spent 50 years developing military technology in a vacuum. They'd observed, learned, and improved upon everything they'd seen from multiple alien civilizations. The Aurora carried weapon systems that incorporated the best ideas from 3 different alien cultures, enhanced by human engineering and powered by technology that no alien civilization had yet developed. "Commander Harrison," she addressed her XO, "prepare boarding teams. I want options." "Ma'am, shouldn't we attempt communication first?" suggested Lieutenant Yates from Communications. "We will," Okafor replied. "But I want those boarding teams ready. The coalition ships have been transmitting distress signals for over 12 hours. These attackers have had plenty of time to hear those signals and withdraw. They chose to continue their assault on civilian vessels." The Aurora moved deeper into the system, her stealth systems engaged. The ship was invisible to most sensor arrays. A ghost moving through space toward what would become humanity's first act of interstellar warfare aboard the coalition vessel Bright Hope. Captain Vex had given up hope of rescue. The attackers had breached their emergency shelter 20 minutes ago, and his crew was now prisoners aboard their own ship. The beings that had captured them were unlike anything in coalition space. They moved with predatory grace, their technology seamlessly integrated with biological components that seemed to shift and adapt. "Where are the juveniles?" one of the attackers demanded, its voice translated through a device that made the words sound like grinding metal. "Gone," Vex lead. "They evacuated before you boarded." The creature's response was swift and brutal. Vex found himself pressed against the bulkhead, the attacker's claws at his throat. "Scans indicate juveniles aboard this vessel. Their location, now." Before Vex could respond, every display screen in the emergency shelter activated simultaneously. The image that appeared was unlike anything any of them had seen before. The being on the screen had pale skin, no visible external organs for breathing or sensing, and most unsettling of all, forward-facing eyes that seemed to stare directly through the screen. "This is Captain Sarah Okafor of the Earth vessel Aurora," the strange being said. "To the crews of coalition vessels in distress, help has arrived. To those attacking civilian ships and kidnapping innocents, you have exactly 5 minutes to release all prisoners and withdraw from this system." The attacker holding Vex released him, its attention focused entirely on the screen. Around the shelter, similar creatures emerged from various parts of the ship, all staring at the same impossible image. These are new players, one of them hissed in their own language. Not coalition. Not hegemony. Not collective. The ship appeared without warning. Stealth technology beyond our sensors, another reported. 5 minutes, the being on the screen repeated. This is not a negotiation. The leader of the attacking force appeared on the ship's main communication channel, its image transmitted back to the Aurora. Captain Okafor studied the alien carefully. Predatory features, advanced biotechnology, and most telling of all, absolutely no fear in its expression. Unknown vessel, the alien leader spoke. You are interfering in lawful salvage operations. These ships entered our territory without permission. Under galactic law, we are entitled to compensation. Galactic law? Okafor repeated. I'm not familiar with that particular legal code. What I'm familiar with is the universal right of beings to call for help when their children are threatened. You have 4 minutes. Your vessel is outnumbered and outgunned. Withdraw now, and you will be permitted to leave. Okafor's response was to have her weapons officer target both attacking ships simultaneously. The Aurora's targeting systems were beyond anything the aliens had encountered. They didn't just lock onto the ships. They identified every critical system, every power coupling, every structural weakness. 3 minutes, Okafor said calmly, in the Aurora's tactical center. Her crew worked with the efficiency that came from years of training for exactly this scenario. Earth's military had spent decades wargaming first-contact situations, especially hostile ones. Every member of the crew knew their role. Captain, reported Commander Harrison, boarding teams Alpha and Beta are ready. Transport systems are locked onto the coalition vessels. We can extract prisoners and crew in under 30 seconds once we're given targeting data. Weapon status? Okafor asked. All systems green, Captain. Plasma cannons are charged and ready. Quantum torpedoes are armed. Point defense systems are active. The Aurora was built for situations exactly like this. When Earth scientists and engineers had designed humanity's first true warship, they'd incorporated every lesson learned from observing alien conflicts. The ship's weapons were designed to overwhelm the defensive systems used by every known alien civilization. 2 minutes, Okafor announced. The alien leader's response was predictable. Both attacking ships detached from the coalition vessels they'd been plundering and moved to engage the Aurora. Their weapon systems came online. Energy signatures spiking as they prepared to fire. What happened next would be discussed in military academies across the galaxy for generations. The Aurora's first salvo was precisely calculated for maximum psychological impact. Rather than destroying the attacking ships immediately, Captain Okafor chose to demonstrate the difference between human military technology and what these predators were accustomed to facing: plasma bolts lanced across space, each one precisely targeted. The first ship's weapon systems simply ceased to exist, vaporized by weapons that struck faster than their sensors could track. The second ship's engines were surgically removed, leaving the vessel intact but completely immobilized. Your weapons are gone, Okafor transmitted to both ships. Your ability to flee is gone. Your boarding parties on the coalition vessels have exactly 60 seconds to return to your ships before I decide you're not worth keeping alive. The effect on the attacking forces was immediate and profound. These were predators accustomed to hunting prey that couldn't fight back. They'd never encountered anything like human military technology. And more importantly, they'd never encountered anything like human tactical thinking. Human warfare was unlike anything else in the galaxy. While alien civilizations fought with honor codes, territorial disputes, and resource competition, humans fought with the single-minded determination that came from a species that had spent thousands of years fighting itself. Earth's military doctrine assumed that any enemy was capable of total warfare, and prepared accordingly. Captain, reported Lieutenant Commander Chun, I'm reading massive life sign movement aboard both attacking vessels. They're withdrawing their boarding parties. Transport signatures detected, added Commander Harrison. Coalition vessels are clear of hostile forces. But Captain Okafor wasn't finished. The Aurora moved closer to the Coalition ships, her crew working to establish communication with the rescued vessels. Coalition vessels, this is Captain Okafor. Are your crews and passengers safe? The response came from Captain Vex aboard the Bright Hope, his voice shaking with relief and disbelief. Unknown vessel Aurora. This is Captain Vex of the merchant ship Bright Hope. Our crews are safe, but we have wounded. And Captain, how do we thank beings we've never met for risking themselves to save us? You don't need to thank us, Captain Vex. You called for help, and we answered. That's what civilized species do for each other. The conversation that followed would be remembered as humanity's true first contact with alien civilization. Not the careful, diplomatic meeting that had been planned, but something far more meaningful. Captain Vex learned that the strange beings who had saved them came from a world called Earth, a place where the concept of leaving children in danger was simply unacceptable. Captain Okafor, Vex asked, how many ships did you bring? How large is your fleet? Just us, Captain. One ship, 200 crew members. The silence that followed that statement was profound. A single unknown vessel had appeared from nowhere and effortlessly defeated 2 ships that had terrorized Coalition space for months. Captain, came a new voice over the communication channel. This is Dr. Zara aboard the research vessel Calm Waters. We have wounded aboard our sea. The storm arrived in the Kepler 442 system exactly 18 hours after the Aurora's first engagement. 37 ships of Earth's 7th Fleet materialized from quantum drive in perfect formation. Their emergence from faster-than-light travel so precisely coordinated that it appeared as if reality itself had suddenly sprouted a human war fleet. Admiral Patricia Wells stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Thunderchild, studying tactical displays that showed the 7 facilities where innocent beings were being held prisoner. Her fleet was the culmination of 50 years of human military development, designed with one purpose: to project Earth's power anywhere in the galaxy within days of a decision to act. Admiral, reported Captain Jackson from the intelligence ship Athena, we've completed our analysis of the data recovered by the Aurora. The facilities are heavily defended, but their defensive systems are based on technology designed to deter coalition and hegemony forces. Which means, Admiral Wells asked, though she already knew the answer, which means they've never encountered anything like our weapon systems, Admiral. Their shields are designed to deflect energy weapons, not kinetic projectiles. Their armor is built to withstand plasma bolts, not quantum torpedoes. They're preparing for the wrong kind of war. Admiral Wells nodded. Human military doctrine had evolved along different lines than alien warfare, shaped by millennia of conflict against other humans, where alien civilizations fought with energy weapons and defensive screens. Humans had developed kinetic weapons that simply punched through defenses, and quantum torpedoes that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Fleet disposition? She asked. Strike Group Alpha is ready to assault facilities 1 through 3. Strike Group Beta has facilities 4 and 5. Strike Group Gamma will handle the remaining sites. The Aurora will coordinate rescue operations once the facilities are neutralized. But Admiral Wells had received additional intelligence during the fleet's journey too. Kepler 442, the mysterious attackers, weren't operating alone. Deep space reconnaissance had identified their home system, a heavily fortified complex of worlds that served as the center of what appeared to be a vast criminal empire. Admiral, interrupted Commander Torres from the communications station, we're receiving a transmission from the hegemony border. Admiral, it's from the hegemony high command. The image that appeared on the main screen showed a being that embodied everything humans had learned about the hegemony during decades of observation. Tall, powerfully built, with ceremonial armor that spoke of a military culture that valued honor and tradition above all else. Unknown fleet, the hegemony commander spoke. I am War Leader Karen of the Hegemony 4th Armada. You have entered disputed space without authorization. Identify yourselves and your intentions. Admiral Wells stepped forward. knowing that this moment would define humanity's relationship with one of the galaxy's major powers. War Leader Karen. I am Admiral Patricia Wells of the Earth's 7th Fleet. We are conducting rescue operations to recover prisoners taken by raiders operating in Coalition space. The Hegemony commander's expression shifted, surprise replacing the initial challenge. Earth? There is no world called Earth in any star charts. There is now, War Leader. And we're here because someone needed to answer a distress call. The conversation that followed revealed the political reality that had allowed the raiders to operate freely. The Hegemony, Coalition, and Collective had spent so much time balancing power against each other that none could act decisively against threats that operated between their territories. The raiders had found the perfect environment in which to prey on the weak. Admiral Wells, War Leader Karen said carefully, the facilities you intend to assault are defended by significant military forces. Many powers have attempted to root out these raiders. All have failed. Oh, Leader, we appreciate the warning. But we didn't come here to attempt anything. We came here to succeed. What followed was the most one-sided military engagement in galactic history. The first facility was an asteroid mining complex converted into a prison. It bristled with defensive weapons, shielded by energy barriers that could repel most alien weapons. The defenders had confidence born from years of successful resistance against rescue attempts. That confidence lasted exactly 37 seconds after Strike Group Alpha opened fire. The human ships didn't announce their attack with energy discharges that could be detected and countered. Instead, they fired kinetic projectiles accelerated to significant fractions of light speed, followed by quantum torpedoes that bypassed conventional defenses entirely by existing in multiple dimensions. The facility's shields simply had no answer for weapons that didn't exist in the same dimensional space as the generators powering them. The defensive platforms that had held off Coalition and Hegemony forces for years were reduced to expanding clouds of debris before their crews realized they were under attack. Facility 1 neutralized, reported Captain Martinez from the assault ship Indomitable. Beginning prisoner extraction operations. The same scene played out at each facility with mechanical precision. Human forces had trained for these exact scenarios, drilling in the evacuation of hostile facilities while under fire. They moved through the installations like a force of nature, rescuing prisoners who had given up hope of ever seeing their families again. At Facility 7, the largest of the complexes, Admiral Wells personally oversaw the assault. This installation was different from the others, clearly serving as headquarters for the entire operation. Intelligence suggested it held not just prisoners, but the leadership responsible for organizing raids across dozens of systems. Admiral, reported Captain Chun from the Phantom, which had been conducting reconnaissance of the facility. We're reading massive energy buildup in the facility's core. They're preparing to destroy the entire installation rather than let it be captured. Time estimate? Wells asked. 3 minutes, Admiral. Admiral Wells made the kind of decision that would define human military doctrine for generations. Rather than withdrawing to a safe distance and mourning the prisoners who would die, she ordered a direct assault on the facility's core. All ships maximum burn. We're going in. The 7th Fleet dove toward the facility with reckless courage that left alien observers speechless. Human ships pushed their engines beyond safety limits, racing against time to reach prisoners they'd never met. From species they'd just learned existed, the Aurora, flying point for the assault, punched through the facility's outer defenses and launched boarding parties directly into the installation's core. Captain Okafor led the assault personally, her crew fighting their way through corridors filled with desperate defenders toward the facility's central command. They reached the installation's control center with 47 seconds to spare. What they found there changed everything. The facility's command center wasn't just coordinating raids against merchant vessels. Wall displays showed the locations of slave markets across the galaxy, breeding facilities where captured aliens were forced to reproduce, and most horrifying of all, processing plants where sentient beings were converted into biological components for advanced technology. "Admiral," Captain Okafor transmitted to Wells, "we've uncovered something much larger than simple raiding. This is industrial-scale exploitation of sentient life. The scope is—" "I understand, Captain." "Secure the facility's databases. All of them." The data recovered from Facility 7 painted a picture of galactic civilization that shocked even Earth's intelligence services. For centuries, while the major powers focused on their political maneuvering, criminal organizations had built an empire based on the systematic exploitation of weaker species. Millions of beings across hundreds of worlds lived in slavery, their existence hidden from the galactic community. "Admiral," reported Commander Torres, "we're receiving communications from multiple sources. The hegemony wants to know how we defeated facilities they couldn't touch. The coalition is requesting immediate diplomatic contact." And Admiral ... "We're getting distress signals from 17 different systems. They all heard about what happened here." Admiral Wells looked at the tactical display showing her fleet, now spread across 7 former prisoner facilities, coordinating the largest rescue operation in galactic history. Thousands of beings from dozens of species were being freed, given medical treatment, and prepared for return to their homeworlds, but more importantly, word was spreading. Across the galaxy, oppressed peoples who had given up hope were learning that someone had answered a distress call, that someone was willing to fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves. "Admiral," Captain Okafor transmitted from the Aurora, "I have War Leader Karen requesting permission to come aboard. He says the Hegemony High Command wants to discuss," and I quote, "formal alliance with the Earth forces. Permission granted, Captain. But first, I want you to do something, ma'am. I want you to broadcast on all frequencies, every channel the galaxy uses. Tell everyone what we found here. Tell them what happened to these prisoners. And tell them that anyone else who needs help knows how to reach us." The broadcast that followed changed galactic civilization forever. Captain Okafor's transmission, carried by quantum relays and subspace networks to every inhabited world, revealed the true scope of the